morning.
Morning.
I'm Elena Joyce, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director of the AAPC. I'm delighted to be here this morning to welcome you all to our first ever Winning with Creative workshop. This event was designed exclusively for AAPC members, and we're thrilled to welcome some 50 delegates here today, some of whom I think are still fighting the single tracking red line and our lovely DC traffic. But we do hope they will join us presently. They won't want to miss today's agenda. We know at AAPC, and if you were with us at the Poly Conference in Huntington Beach, these are very exciting and challenging times. As the largest and only nonprofit organization for political professionals, APC is here to provide some common ground where we can all come together to connect, learn, and change the world. This forum is just one such opportunity among our webinars, regional conferences, and of course the annual Polys. But before we get underway with today's event, focusing on connecting with voters and leveraging creative that cuts through, I want to take a moment to thank a few of the key people who helped make today possible. First, our hosts, IMG, Adam Hurst and Sarah Jackson. Our sincere thanks to the entire team here at Interface Media Group, who not only do amazing work for their clients, candidates, and causes, but have helped APC produce videos to promote our work, as well as honor several of our Hall of Fame inductees over the years. Our official MC, who will be joining us shortly, the incomparable Kelly Gibson of Hamburger Gibson Creative. She not only helped us flesh out the idea for this forum, she also serves in a variety of volunteer capacities with the APC, including co-chairing our upcoming annual 2018 APC Poly Awards and Conference, which will take place this April 11 through 13 in Nashville, Tennessee. And the planning for this program is now well underway, and I promise you we are leveraging the best that Music City has to offer. You won't want to miss it. I'd like to also thank our accomplished speakers who are lending their time and expertise to today's meeting. You're an inspiration to us all, and we look forward to learning from you. Last but not least, I'd like to thank my partners in crime, the AAPC staff, Becky Suleiman, Jen Cutry, Andrea Poobal, and Allison Kramer Mills for making it all happen. I hope you'll take a moment to share your feedback with any one of us about this event and our other deliverables, and how we can improve upon our member services to you, our members, who also deserve thanks. We appreciate your commitment to your own professional development, to advancing this industry through the exchange of best practices, and for your adherence to our professional code of ethics. So, with no further ado, I am pleased to introduce our first speaker. She's here today under the auspices of another great AAPC friend, Getty Images, where she performs qualitative and quantitative research analyzing the meaning, implementation, and impact of photos and videos in today's visual world. Please join me in a warm welcome for Lindsay Morris.
Hello. So I'm Lindsay Morris. I'm the Senior Manager of Creative Planning at Getty Images, and I work on the creative team. So I'm not a politician. I don't work in politics, but I am on the creative side of things. And so just so I get a quick gauge, how many people are familiar with Getty Images? Okay, great. So I won't start there. How many of you are familiar with them on the creative side? Okay, so I got some stuff to work with. Great. Okay, so that's where I fit. I work in the creative research team. And my role at Getty is to study visual trends. So we do that in a few different ways. We look at top sellers. I dive into top sellers all the time. I look at what is selling the most in revenue, what is selling the most by downloads. I look at evergreen images, what images are selling the most for the last 5 years. And I look at images that are spiking in the last 6 months, that these images are just killing it. And I try to find stories. We also look at customer search. And actually that, to me, tells me more sometimes, because it's not based on what we already have or what we've already created. It's based on what customers are looking for to tell their stories. So when we see a big spike in search terms, we take note of those and we try to figure out what that means. And this all relates to what our world looks like, right? We're using images every single day to promote our message, to promote our cause, and we can take a lot of clues from everywhere. So the other thing that we do is we look at the world around us. So besides the data, which is really important, we also do deep dives into fashion and fine art and politics and media and stills and video and certainly advertising. And then we sort of crunch it all together. We get a holistic view of what content we should be creating. Our goal is to make sure that we have the content clients like you need before you even know that you need it. And then we also speak with clients and we talk to them about what images are going to have the most impact, what images they should be using for their audience. We have about 250,000 global contributors. So when we start noticing things, we want to get that out as quick as possible. We also want to have sort of, a global reach. So before I get ahead of myself, I want to just make sure that we sort of start with the baseline. This is kind of why we're all here, right? So why does imagery matter? Well, 90% of information transmitted in the brain is visual. We're always looking at these cues. Also, because of that, visual content increases brand engagement by as much as 94%. So I think we can all agree we're sitting in this room because we want the images that we use to influence people. We want images to evoke emotions. We want them to appeal to our senses. And I truly believe that images can change the world. And this is what I do every day. I work on partnerships. I work on creating content. I think it really matters, and I get really excited about it. Another thing I'll mention on the data side is that Getty is so inspiring to me because they have more data on imagery or image buyers than any other company. So I get a lot to play with. All right, so the first trend, and this is sort of the most overarching trend that we're going to talk about for the next half hour or so, is authenticity in imagery. With camera phones, social media being everywhere, this snapshot, mobile, candid aesthetic is more important than ever. I'm going to go ahead and say this is one of probably the most authentic, unfiltered images I saw last year. It's of President Obama when he was currently president. He's on Anthony Bourdain's No Reservation show. And the fact that we're seeing a sitting president in Vietnam, eating noodles, drinking beer, sitting on this rickety stool in harsh lighting, I couldn't believe it. I was like, this lighting, we laugh and we delight in it and we love to see him this way. And I think it's really meaningful. The fact that he allowed himself to be shown this way, I think we want to connect with public figures, with celebrities. We want to connect with them more than ever before. We want to pull back the curtain, so to speak. Even more interesting that this image was taken by the official White House photographer. His name is Pete Souza. You guys have probably heard of him. But he's known for taking these really candid, playful moments of the president. Also sometimes serious, but they still feel really candid, like he's a fly on the wall. And now that Pete has some time on his hands, actually House of Cards hired him to do a shoot for them for the Netflix show. Frank Underwood is looking candid. Even this highly produced show, right? this is actually, they're spending a lot of money and they're doing a lot of time on this. But it really resonates with people. I love how we see real life blurring with commercial. Documentary is actually blurring with drama, which is really cool to see. And sometimes it works really well. I think this one is a good example of that. Sometimes it doesn't. The moment it becomes disingenuous or unauthentic, it fails. So this was Pepsi's recent commercial where they found this out the hard way. They hired Kendall Jenner to, make peace during a racial protest with Pepsi. And the brand missed the point. It immediately had a bunch of backlash. This failed. They spent a lot of money and a lot of time on this, and it didn't work. But when we see authentic images like these, we are captivated by this. These are images from real life demonstrations where they're sort of surprising, right? You can't really fake this. It evokes real emotion and real interest. And then I think Hillary was a candidate who was often criticized, for being unauthentic and way too polished. And regardless of how we all feel about her, I can't help but wonder what if an everyday image like this had come out before the election, not after the election. She's casually dressed, she's in the woods, she's walking her dog. I think we all feel like we can relate to her a lot more. And the fact that this got so much attention makes me really think that something was missing, right? Something was missing. She spent so much time in the spotlight, and then this was shared so many times, people couldn't believe it. So I think, I'm always looking for stories like that. This is our top downloaded image during the election cycle on Getty Images last year. You can see it's not a standard portrait. It's not polished. Instead, he's caught in a moment. He had sort of an untraditional campaign. We all know that. He had a lot of unscripted, really off-the-cuff moments. He campaigned on the premise that he said it like it is, right? And actually, he had gaffes, he misspoke, he did unpolished things, but largely he was forgiven for this. And people actually kind of liked the fact that he wasn't using a teleprompter. It didn't seem coined. Ultimately, it definitely, I think, worked for him. And then I also think of politicians like Ben Sass. I've been paying attention to him more recently lately. He has a really big following on Twitter. He really sort of feeds into this transparency and sort of need for authenticity. What struck me is that his personal Twitter account has almost double the followers of his political person account. People want to read and hear what he genuinely thinks, what he spends his time on, what his opinions are. I think they also connect with the imagery. There's a huge difference between the two. You can see how on the left, he's being silly, he's with his family, it looks unposed. I would love it to be even more unposed, but I don't want to get picky here. But these candid moments, right? It feels like you know him and you trust him. Maybe you care about him. The imagery on the right, his political account, is so different. It's his professional headshot. He's all suited up, right? The generic banner image, it's so generic. It really could be anywhere. So again, these have real effects on when you're choosing imagery. And then I want to just bring up the fact, too, this isn't just in politics. When I look at this stuff, I look at really holistically. And we're seeing this type of content permeating everything. And that's what I do want you to take away from, too. I know sometimes we're going to use big brand and big campaign examples, but this all trickles down. So clothing companies like Aerie are making a no Photoshop pledge. IKEA is interesting. They're showing their spaces that look actually lived in. This doesn't have, it's just starting to happen more and more. Transportation companies, pharmaceuticals, people are caught in a moment. They are also really naturally styled. It doesn't look art directed. It looks like they're real people. It looks like they cast somebody off the street. Sometimes these images are actually even harder to make them look that way, but it's worth the effort. And then these are our top selling creative portraits that were sold to all of our political clients during the political season, this recent one, on Getty Images. And I am just immediately struck by how diverse they are, how authentic they look. These are all ages, all occupations, they're all races. This is really what America looks like. I would love a campaign that showed all these faces in one. I think as a story, they're really powerful. And I suspect, they were used as pieces, but this is a much better story to me.
Are they actors?
Is it what?
Are these actors portraits?
These are on, yes, they're on a commercial site, model released, property released.
Are they actors or are they just candid?
Oh, they're candid. They're not, it's not like an actual real person. They've signed away a model release and they're portraits we've taken. And so again, this is on the creative side. We give you guys a lot of tools and a lot of different resources to have these model released, property released, people that have signed, a binding contract saying they can be used for campaigns like this. So definitely, please. And if you have any questions, we have a whole team. You can contact me, but we have a whole team too that can help you navigate the rights and clearances. Yeah.
Has Getty coined a term for that happy, serious look in all of these?
Like a keyword?
Yes. I would define those as.
I would try, there's a few keywords. I would try authentic. I would try real people. I would try real bodies.
We've tried a whole bunch of things. I just wanted to know if there had been a term for that yet, seeing as it's such a huge trend.
Yeah.
Looking for it, if there was a one word for that.
Mm-hmm.
Set, but not smiling facial expression.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can definitely ask. I think, it's a hard one. I guess I know that there's like not toothy smile, which isn't like the big grin. And I'll get to that too. I'm working on contributors actually, especially for women, to not be always smiling. They don't always have to be smiling. They can just be present, and smart and able. So yeah, I'll take that away as there's like an all-encompassing keyword. So above all, showing this realistic content is so important. And I want to specifically talk for a minute on millennials and Gen Z, because this is more important than ever. They are masters at sleuthing out something that feels phony or fake. And again, social media is a huge driver of this. They're constantly looking at real people, and they want to see that aesthetic. It's really permeating how they feel about imagery, and what's speaking to them. They want it to feel truthful. They don't care if it's not perfect, actually. They're not looking for perfection or the sleek, art-directed, casted shots. And they can be playful or serious or irreverent or funny. They can be all the emotions that we talk about, but still feeling really natural and having this realness. And then, again, social media is a huge driver of this, but it's not the only thing. I talk about social media a lot. I look at social media a lot. But this is also, in general, how younger generations consume media. Gen Z, and when I talk about them, I mean kids born between 1996 and 2010, roughly. They've grown up in an entirely digital world. They were learning to swipe before they could walk, right? They know it all. And they have this new outlook on how the world should be seen and how they consume their media. I couldn't have guessed that 50% of Gen Z say they literally can't live without YouTube. I'm only a decade ahead of them, and that makes me feel super old. I just got back from VidCon, which made me feel ancient. I don't know if you guys know about this, but it is the biggest online video conference in the world. It was in Anaheim. It's sponsored by YouTube. There were 26,000 people that came to this thing. So it's not niche. And it's where online fans and content creators and then industry folks all get together and they consume and they celebrate and they talk about and they create video. But the most telling part to me, I felt like I got a lot of takeaways from this. And one is that this is how we observe media consumption by young people. And these YouTube stars are affecting teens' lives, right? They feel like they know these stars. I was seeing them. These guys were walking around. I didn't even know who they were, and teens were running towards them. They were doing as many photo ops as they could. The stars were happy to do them. they feel like they know them because they see them in all aspects of their lives. They see them on camera when they're waking up, when they're going to bed, when they're having good days, when they're having bad days. There's a lot of like real emotion that's shown on YouTube. And there isn't the traditional barrier between stars and fans. They've kind of broken the fourth wall just inherently. And these generations expect this. YouTube's tagline is broadcast yourself. That's what they say to the world. Also, unlike movies and video and music, there's no gatekeepers. So it's the most diverse content creators and diverse audience of any channel. There's no studio execs. There's an infinite number of channels. So anyone can literally get on it. If you build it, they will come. So this is a really important thing to consider. And then beyond YouTube, there's a ton of other great examples of campaigns using really, raw, intimate content. This As American As campaign by Fusion Media Group. And it struck me when I saw it for sure, because it seemed like it could come out of any documentary photographer. It seems like you're just, it's embracing different lifestyles. And you get a sense that these are real people and they have real stories and you feel interested in them. Again, this resonates with young people and certainly young voters. And then part of this is just showing people with diverse backgrounds and experiences. I mentioned earlier, when we identify trends, we look at the world around us. And this is, I think, really important. The U.S. Census Bureau predicts that in 2044, there will be more non-white people than white people, right? So it's not just about how you reflect people, it's about who you are reflecting in your campaigns. And this is more important than ever. Again, YouTube, the most diverse channel, the most diverse creators. I cannot say it enough. And then, of course, we can't talk about young people. I could talk all day about young people, to be honest, but we also really want to talk about seniors and older generations. What's exciting to me is that we've entered an age that we're celebrating. We're celebrating seniors with their wrinkles. We're celebrating age. We're seeing seniors who are empowered by it, actually. They're not feeling sorry for it. The messaging is not feeling sorry for your age or fixing your age or trying to hide your age. In media and advertising, we're seeing seniors having fun. They're embracing their unique style. They're being strong and they're being funny and they're being able. They're also traveling. This is actually, the imagery has really shifted in the travel market too. We're seeing older people than ever before. They're being active. So fun. And they're being really stylish too. This is Iris Apfel. She's 95 years old and she is seeing, she's been seen across all these different campaigns or even more. A documentary just came out about her. Like, she is peaking at 95 and it's thrilling. We should all be so lucky. And then this is actually, I think, one of the most important points here is that we're seeing a lot of seniorpreneurs, as we're calling them. Seniors now, it used to be the golden years. They were on their yacht. They were relaxing in their, fancy home. But now we're seeing them still working, still learning, still traveling. They're being vital. They're being healthy, which is cool. And then, as I mentioned, we look at data and we look at customer search a lot. So when we see keywords on the rise, we notice. So we've seen a lot of these keywords rising really quickly. We're seeing unfiltered, real bodies, authenticity, real life, and imperfection. They're all jumping in search. And this is just in the past year. So then also, because of all this, at Getty, we've been speaking to our contributors constantly about shooting this type of content. We're showing more diversity, we're showing more real bodies, we want to show all ages, and we want to show them having these really candid moments and showing these candid moments of connecting. All right, and the next subject I want to talk about is women. My team has been studying the depiction of women in imagery for at least a decade, but we started seeing in the last few years that the conversation really changed. First, we started seeing women who were shown as business leaders, They were the ones speaking in images. They were the ones presenting in images. People were listening to them. This seems like a nuance, but it actually isn't. It's a really big shift. Then we started seeing women who were shown in more male-dominated roles. So we're starting to see them in science and math and engineering, and they're scientists, and they're doctors, and they're lawyers, and they're in the military, they're financial advisors. And then now, most recently, we are seeing them take on a whole new sort of embodiment, which is unapologetic and strong and gritty. We joke in our department, women no longer want to be the pretty woman, they want to be the gritty woman. And I'm going to just start with stats for this one. So we noticed that there were a lot of keywords that were going up in search. I would say there are even more since we ran this last data set. Woman in protest, angry women, woman in grit, heroine, woman in edgy, they're all going up in search. Protest is, of course, a big one for this trend. Certainly the Women's March was huge. It was, around the world, but it was the largest in US history. And then I want to mention that we started tracking these search terms last summer. So it wasn't like November 8th happened and search spiked up. We were already tracking it. We'd actually already gone to print with this trend in our online publication. So we were already seeing signs of it. I think certainly, the election was a culmination, but it didn't start up overnight. And we were seeing this in imagery people were buying and searching for. And then women's voices are being heard louder than ever. Elizabeth Warren was silenced on the Senate floor, and instead of that quieting her message, it actually created a million hilarious memes, maybe a campaign slogan, who knows. Nancy Pelosi took a strong stance just recently, saying she thinks she's worth the trouble when people were saying, maybe she should step aside. Senator Harris was interrupted. And again, instead of quieting her, she got in these kind of like awesome eye rolls. And again, the internet applauded her. And then we're seeing gritty women across all subjects, actually. Again, we look at this really holistically. She's smashing conventions, she's tearing down walls. A lot of phrases that were usually, not considered feminine, like difficult and shrill, certainly nasty. That's all rhetoric. Those are all terms that are actually, being flipped on their head a little bit. Heaven forbid she's just not smiling. Again, I can't express this enough. And I think of someone like Beyonce when she's just like smashing the heck out of that car in Lemonade, or comedians like Samantha Bee, or even Amy Schumer. But again, we're seeing it everywhere. So we're seeing it in TV and film too. Wonder Woman, of course, exceeded everyone's expectations, and it was mostly revenue driven, and that's interesting. But also Eleven and Claire and Ray and Jin and all the characters in Game of Thrones. They're all, kicking ass. They're not apologizing. They are less concerned about how they look and more concerned about how they are going to change the world, which is interesting. And these are two ads from the Netherlands that I had to share because I couldn't believe it. You can see these women's pores. This is crazy. They're looking dirty and sweaty and muddy. They look exhilarated. They look so free. Hillary also looked a lot more free, again, after the election. The first, speech she made after the election, she came out and she wasn't wearing makeup. And instead of people commenting that she looked exhausted or defeated, they actually said she looked empowered. She looked free, And she joined the whole list of women who are doing this makeup-free trend. Alicia Keys has said from now on she's going makeup-free. Celebrities, Lorde, and many others have been calling out brands that have photoshopped them. And all over Instagram, this no makeup hashtag. But even beauty brands, too, they're embracing this. So Pantene, their new speaker is UFC fighter Ronda Rousey. And their tagline is, "Don't hate me because I am strong." I love it. And then grit is literally being shown. So I just want to literally, it's also being shown in advertising. Blood, sweat, dirt, mud. And then as I mentioned, we look at top sellers a lot. This is one of my favorite things to do. And the shift is actually huge here, and it's based on money. So it's based on what customers are spending. This is our top selling image of a woman on Getty Images in 2007. She's naked. She's under a sheet. She looks passive. She looks like life is sort of just waiting to happen to her. This is today's top selling image of a woman. It's so different. First, she gets to wear clothes, which is like awesome. And she gets to wear a lot of them. There's so much clothes on her. So I was thrilled when I hit that report. But she's a solo traveler, which is a big trend right now. She looks like she is on a journey to conquer the world. Also, what struck me, again, it's not about what she looks like. You can't even tell. It's about what she is doing, which is a big, big shift. And so these are the images we're creating at Getty. We're working with our contributors to create this type of gritty, strong content. We want them to look tough and unapologetic, without passivity. There's plenty of conviction and intensity, though. And there are a lot less forced smiles. Again, something I can't stress to our contributors enough. And then also in response to this, we realized that, customers really need to be able to find this type of content, and again, sort of on a wide range of topics. So we spearheaded a partnership with Sheryl Sandberg's nonprofit, leanin.org. This is a partnership I'm really proud of. It's been our most successful collection. And we show diverse, empowered women in it. They're leading meetings. They're sitting in that corner office. They're strong and they're smart. We also have imagery of girls in this collection. So they are playing sports. They are doing math. They are doing science. They aren't always wearing pink. They do have their own unique style. Then we also include caretaking fathers in this collection because we really have also seen that fatherhood is shifting a lot in imagery. It's sort of changing the advertising game a bit. We're coining it dadvertising right now. So dads are actually being shown as present and emotionally connected to their children's lives. We used to see these bumbling or these no-show father storylines constantly, consistently, sort of across all types of media. But now we're seeing them truly as part of the family. Speaker Paul Ryan took a really strong stance when he was asked to be speaker. He said he would not waver. He needed to have the weekends at home to spend with his family. He would not be traveling. Last year, President Obama actually signed a law which required both women's and men's restrooms in publicly accessible federal buildings to have baby changing tables. This actually stemmed from Ashton Kutcher, which, surprise, I was surprised. He is a new dad, and he realized that he's having a lot of trouble when he's taking his kids. He can't use a restroom with a changing table. So he called it out on Twitter. He and Obama linked up, made some stuff happen. But again, all kinds of brands are showing this. They're showing dads being playful. They're showing dads doing household chores. They're in the kitchen. They're doing laundry. They're multitasking, which is so big. This is, again, not a nuance. And then it's even being used for products like lotion and medicine and diapers. This, we consider these mommy brands. We sort of joke about those. But they're speaking to dads, and on some of these ads, only to dads. Dads are a driver in the message. And then, again, top sellers. I can't help myself. So this is the top selling image of a father in 2007. This is actually a great image. I love this image. But you can see it's showing these really traditional father-son behaviors, right? They're playing football. They're roughhousing. They're on the suburban lawn. This is today's top-selling father image. There are a lot of similarities, actually, right? They're outside. They're playing. But the moment is so different. They are being sweet. It's really tender. They're being, they are having a moment. It's also an older father, which is interesting. It's a mixed-race family, which is even more interesting. So then continuing this need, modern families is really important. Family is one of our top 3 keywords, and it's been that way for years. Family is what everyone is searching for. And we think about what families look like today. They don't look like what they looked like even 5, 10, 15 years ago in imagery. So specifically, mixed race families, it's gone up 208% in search in just the past year, and we're seeing it across the board. Also, same-sex families has really been rising in search. It's up 125% in just the past year. And, you know, we're seeing same-sex couples, also parents, Wells Fargo, Target, HB, even Tiffany's is showing it. All right, and then adding to the message of inclusivity and diversity, this is the final trend I'm going to touch on, and this is one we're calling global neighborhood. And this really speaks to the, you know, sort of increasing circulation of people and goods and services and certainly information. And it's actually having a transformative effect on society, certainly imagery. And I think it has the potential to change the way we're seeing ourselves. I'm going to start with data here. So in the last 12 months, we've seen search terms like immigrant, immigration, multicultural, international, global, globalization, and community. They're all going up in search. We looked at these sort of, you know, together. This is telling a collective story. So I think this speaks to a number of things. Of course, the U.S. political climate is more maybe contentious than ever right now, especially on topics of inclusivity and diversity and religion and immigration. But the plus side is that people are talking about this way more. Brands are talking about this way more. I have to say, again, we had gone to print with this trend actually right before the election. And after the election, I was like walking to the office on November 9th and feeling a little uneasy about how I was going to talk about multinationalism and no borders and really, you know, being inclusive. But actually, brands are sticking their stake in the ground, and they are actually doubling down on this message of inclusivity and diversity more than ever before. So Airbnb is a good example of this. They came out with their community commitment advertising, and they talk about how they have homes all around the world. Everyone is welcome, and it shows this macro culture of travel. Sort of their brand is inherently, you know, tapping on that message. Coca-Cola also came out with their commercial at the Super Bowl called Together is Beautiful. What's interesting here is that this ad was actually aired in 2014 first. And it is an ad that is a multicultural ad full of Americans speaking in different languages, singing America the Beautiful. And they got a lot of backlash in 2014, actually. It was not really applauded. But instead of, you know, cutting away, changing their message, they doubled down. In 2017, they added more voices to this ad, and they actually were applauded for their courage. The message and the response was so different. Muslim culture is also being brought into the forefront, certainly for some challenging reasons and politics, for sure, but also really wonderful reasons. Amazon Prime came out with a commercial which talked about the similarities between a Muslim imam and a priest, and the message was actually that they have more in common than you might think, and then, of course, we all have more in common than we might think. And then we also recently partnered with MuslimGirl.com, which they are producing a lot of great imagery for us. It's model released. It's creative content of modern Muslim women, something that I think certainly was hard to find. It's hard to find on other agencies, and we're definitely trying to pave the way there. And then even the brand Budweiser, right? It's the most American brand ever. They renamed their beer America last summer. They even at the Super Bowl came out with a commercial. The whole message was about their founder's immigration story from Germany to the US. And then there are just a ton of innovative brands right now that are doing this shared economy. Brands like Uber and Lyft and WeWork and Airbnb and Zipcar, all these brands are speaking to a more accepted, shared, inclusive world. This also speaks to younger generations the most. It's, of course, it offers convenience and affordability, which is something younger generations are really keen to use, but it also kind of levels the playing field. It also includes anyone and everyone, and younger generations do largely believe in this. And then even L'Oreal's recent campaign, they have their True Match Foundation. And it's about inclusivity and diversity for sure. It's definitely about different skin tones. What I noticed here is that it also shows a man. It shows a trans woman. So they're being so open arms and open-minded about who uses their product and who really wants to feel beautiful. So again, we're having some fun working on this trend with our contributors. We are creating imagery that shows that, the messages of nomadism, of transience. They're specific, but they are universal too, something we can all sort of relate to when we see it. And visual metaphors are really fun here about, the influx of culture and of information. And then stylistically, for sure, this is a fun trend to sort of tap into. It talks about, campaigns needing to be nomadic themselves, right? We're really changing and learning how to adapt to consumer identities, and then certainly political identities and the political landscape, which is, of course, inherently ever-changing. So as to wrap up, if you don't remember anything else from this presentation, please remember authenticity is key. It is so, so important for a whole range of ages, and all types of people. So I don't know if we have a few minutes for questions. I'm happy to take them. I'll also be around for a bit, so I could talk about this stuff all day. Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
come this way.
Okay.
We're going to get our next presenter set up, Lindsay, while we do some questions with you. Turn my mic the right way.
Hi, that was awesome. So, Lindsay, can you speak to what the accessibility of all of these insights would be for other folks? Because it seems like campaigns would want to get in on the back end of that, like the Google Zeitgeist in effect.
Accessibility of the trends or of the images?
The trends.
The trends, sure. Yes.
The insights from the trends, because that's really what's coming across.
Yes. So there's a few different ways. We do webinars on the trends. We have online magazine called Stories and Trends. You can look under the Visual Insights tab. We make boards and light boxes on our website about these trends. All of the images that I showed, we have on our site. They are commercial, they are custom, they're ready to license, and you don't have to worry about getting permission or going through any of that process. We also have, you can contact me if you'd like. If you have, any questions or want to be steered more closely to, what people are talking about. And I really recommend, I know we don't have time all the time, but look at the world around you. Really sort of take a lot of clues from that. Everything that you're consuming has, it all means something. It all matters. You guys know what your family looks like and what your world looks like and what your friends look like, and what brands are cool. I actually we have an intern at work, and she's, a young teenager, and I was like, can you just send me an email full of cool stuff, like links you guys are talking about right now? And she did, and it was really insightful. It was really interesting to see. So be curious also. But yes, feel free to email me, tap into Getty's resources. You can also, you can email Getty and they'll point you to the right direction. Does that answer?
I know we're in a small space, but we are recording, so I am going to be a stickler about talking into the mic.
Hi, Lindsay. So I have as I was looking at your presentation, it's great in terms of insights. There was a lot of talk in the political business among people who know politics about how did people outside of the Trump campaign miss the Trump voters, voters who were invisible, the forgotten voter. Is there any effort or that you are making in order to find those people and portray them accurately? And I'm thinking, your people who are into religious freedom, people who are into guns, people who are, who work in the coal mines, that sort of thing. Like, is that something on your radar, or is that like folded into the authenticity bucket?
Yes. So yes, on two fronts. One is that we're doing actually a lot of research, and we're kind of trying to focus on exactly what you're talking about. But I will say, I think that was one of the crux of the whole, thing too, is right. Like those types of peoples and groups, they wanted to be shown authentically too. They want their voices to be heard too. I think you'll see a lot of that in our collections, and I certainly think we should do more of it. And we have been working with our contributors. We're trying to show a lot of, differing parts of the country. But I hope that you feel that all of these sort of, overarching trends that I spoke about can relate to, honestly, any type of, any political leaning or any type of person, because really we're talking about representing people, real people, and representing them accurately. And representing them authentically, and we're all part of it. But yes, so authenticity for sure. I think that's why they felt that it was lacking too. I'll also say that customer search for Trump was way higher than Hillary for the last 2 years. So, I think some data is interesting, right? And we sort of tell the stories sometimes, that we think is right. But I'm working on it. We're working on it. And I also am happy to hear feedback when you're looking, or anyone is looking for their campaigns, what you're missing, because that's part of my job too, is, we brief contributors on what content we need. So we love talking to clients about what content they can't find. Pain points do not offend me. They really help me. So I'm happy to speak about that after too.
One more.
You've already convinced me the top trending image from certain years to now is really cool. Have you done that for specifically politics or American? Because I'd love to see sort of the breakdown of like the last 10 years of the top image for American or the top image for politics.
Yeah, we definitely need to do more of it. I did show you on the editorial side the top selling image, which was Trump, and being actually very sort of candid and having his moment. But I think there is a lot more great comparisons that we could share, and they're all telling. And we also see it. We see the shift. So it's fun to see those. I'll work on sharing some more of those.
I sense a follow-up webinar with APC. Thank you so much, Lindsay. Big round of applause. Our next speaker joins us from the United States Postal Service, with whom APC enjoys an extremely productive partnership in support of political direct mail. Here to share the latest in creative options to make your mail irresistible, please take one with you, is the Director of Mailing Services in Product Innovation for USPS, Vicki Stevens.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to join you today. We're so appreciative of the relationship we share with the AAPC, and we're really excited to share some content with you that we think can really help you in the campaigns that you're about to initiate. We're handing around copies of this year's version, just released in May, of Irresistible Mail. And no need to open it now unless you want to. I will not be offended. I'll walk you through just a couple of things in here. We have a tight time frame, but we have all kinds of great resources online. So anything we miss, happy to follow up or take a drive on our associated website as well. So thank you so much for the chance to be here today. I think it's really exciting to bring together so many. This is a great agenda to help focus on the right elements, bringing together the right imagery, using the right channels, getting the best out of all of these elements to deliver a winning campaign. I think it's a great initiative. Our goal is very similar in terms of helping the users of mail maximize the results that they achieve through our channel. So I want to talk to you a little bit. We all know digital's exploding, right? How many of you are rocking multiple devices in your pockets today? I got about 4 just in the bag over there, right? Digital's everywhere. The way we communicate, the way we transact, digital is everywhere. And it leaves many people wondering, where does mail fit in this era of digital uniformity? It's everywhere. The key is figuring out how to stand out and how to make an impact. And in fact, because of this proliferation of digital, it creates a really unique opportunity for mail to help get your message across and help to drive results. So just as a touch point, in case you haven't seen this, the DMA publishes annually the response rate reports. The 2017 response rate report just came out, and I know it's a little bit of an eye test here. The good news for us is the really big bar on the left end is direct mail. What this chart says is, over the last couple of years, the response rate to direct mail has increased by more than 40%. This is a huge increase. All channels are working on driving up their response rates, and everybody's making headway. If you look at all of the other channels across the bottom, and I know you can't read them, but email, paid search, online display, and social media, if you take all of those digital channels combined, direct mail still outperforms all of them combined by more than 200%. It's a huge gap there. So it's really important to take a second look. It's not just about the cost of the channel, it's about what you derive from within the channel. But we also are not resting on our laurels. We recognize we all transact digitally. We're tethered all the time, 24/7, connected to our devices. So we think it's really important not to say just do direct mail, but do direct mail in combination with your other channels as a central part of the other channels that you consider in a campaign. It's in complement. The more channels you add, of course, the higher your response rate. And if you combine a direct mail piece with a web presence, with an email, you can increase your response rate across all of those channels together by another 37%. So there's power in the complementary supporting of the message. The tangible value that you get from a mail piece or starting from a mail piece is really profound. And in the last couple of years, we've seen a renaissance in the capabilities that really, really pair well with mail. So we want to touch on some of the things that we think you might want to consider, not only incorporating mail as a strategic backbone of any campaign that you do, but leveraging some of these other really fun techniques that help you drive these better results. So how do we do this? Of course, selfishly, the Postal Service has a lot invested in our long-term strategy for how we grow mail. That's really important to us. So we do extensive research on what's going on in the market. What are marketers doing? What are technologists doing? What's going on in the print industry itself? What's going on that we can leverage? And what we drive for are the techniques that, when combined with print, help drive the best possible results, the most engagement, the highest return, the highest response rates. And those are the types of technologies that we invest in and encourage the mailing industry to invest in as well. Our plan is, if we can help highlight these technologies and encourage their use, that'll drive better results for the mailer, which means that people will continue to invest in mail. And so we offer a series of promotional opportunities throughout the year. We give a discount on postage for you to try these technologies and see what kind of results you can actually achieve. And as a reflection of the technologies that we're encouraging, we developed, this is our 3rd year running, Irresistible Mail. So anything that you see in your Irresistible Mail issue is something for which you could earn a discount to try in your own mail campaigns, as a way to start with the physical printed piece and connect with those very, very important online and digital channels. So we're having a little bit of a challenge with our technology with my videos. I apologize, they're really big videos. So I may skip a few of these videos, but I will redirect you to where to find some of these. So let me start by just giving you a really quick overview. When you pull out your binder, and it is a binder, inside the cover, we highlight in the little boxes the technologies that are previewed within this. And then each page within, there's a pocket and an actual direct mail piece included that shows the implementation of those technologies. And there's a little cheat sheet on the opposite of every page. So this particular mail piece in this pocket leverages near-field communication, unique formats, and video. right? So it's a great way on any page to go through, see the techniques that we're identifying, and then get a great example of how they might be implemented. Some of the technologies that we are including in our promotions and encouraging the industry to leverage include virtual reality for the first time this year, which may or may not be a great approach for a political campaign, although I feel like we've been living in a virtual reality over the last couple of years with the politics in the U.S. There's a new category we call digital to direct mail. This is brand new to us. We're so excited about this technology. I'll show you a little of this. We leverage video and print together, augmented reality, near-field communication, and of course, the old tried and true standby of QR codes. So let me touch on just a couple of these to make sure you're aware of them. So this category that we call digital to direct mail, if you're a student of what's going on with spending in the advertising industry, we now spend more on digital advertising, the little monitor there, than we do on television advertising. There's more money going into digital spend than into TV spend. And it's projected that that market's going to exceed, that digital advertising is going to exceed $36 billion in 2017. At the same time that our money's all going into digital, I'm sure you've seen these statistics. We now have, Americans have, a shorter attention span than a goldfish. 8 seconds, that's it, that's all you get. So at the same time all the money's pushed into digital, our attention spans are plummeting, going down significantly. Only 9% of digital ads get more than 1 second's worth of attention for any viewer. So it's really hard to capture, garner, and hold the attention because we're not as attentive as goldfish anymore. So a fabulous way to leverage. People are going to be online. They're going to be in this digital space. So digital to direct mail leverages online clicking behaviors. You put a kernel, a pixel on a page, and you can automate the production of a direct mail piece that's very, very, very targeted to that individual. We think this is great. This is the first time that we've taken a digital behavior and focused on the automated production of a printed mail piece. Once you get a printed mail piece into someone's hand, their attention span is quite different. They handle a printed piece of mail differently than you do when you're online and you get a pop-up ad or when you get an email. Our behaviors are quite different. People tend to take their mail aside and spend a certain amount of time on it every day. They pore over it. They'll save it till they have time to work on it. So you're much more likely to get and capture and hold the attention of a person once they have a piece of mail in their hand. And if you've started that with somebody who's on, for example, a political website, they're not a known user to you, but the technology behind this digital to direct mail can help you find them. Imagine the power of somebody looking at a candidate's profile or candidate's social page and then being able to get a printed piece of mail in their hand within a day or two of the time that they made that click. It's a really powerful way to identify people who are in the digital space and then help convert them by bringing them into a physical space with a physical printed mail piece. So we're really excited about this prospect. In your book, you can see the picture here, and of course these are much more advertising related. This is an example that you can see. It's a direct mail piece that the example is that a woman's online searching for a gift for her husband. She's looking at this aviator watch. Within a day, she gets this mail piece here, and it says, "Jane, you've been selected to take this mission." And she gets her personalized QR code and can actually go onto the website, convert, make the purchase. So it's a really quick way. Jane was not known to the producer of this watch until she clicked on their website. And within 48 hours, she had a mail piece in her hand with a discount, and she could convert. So I'm going to try, hopefully, to see if I'm having trouble moving the mouse here. I'm going to see if I can pull up one of these videos so you get a quick idea of what this might look like. And forgive my clicking here. Yeah, I can't get the mouse. That's all right. If we can't get it to go, there we go. Okay, this one right there.
Hi.
Okay. So this is the mail piece that's in the folder that you have?
It's not showing up.
Oh, it's not? Oh, rats. Okay. Well, let's bypass the video. That's all right. We'll just go back to the presentation. If you go to our irresistiblemail.com site Every one of these technologies is featured on this site. You can see the videos that are associated with each of the experiences. There's white papers, there's other materials. It's a fabulous treasure trove to learn more about each of these technologies. So this one in particular, because digital to direct mail is new for us this year in the promotions, we have some great new content out there so you can learn more about it, and we can even help connect you with the providers in this space. Okay? The next category that we have is video in print. Video in print is truly, there's lots of ways in. We know people are consuming videos at amazing rates. Half of all the data we used on our cell phones last year was used to consume video. That's expected to be 80% of our data usage in the next 2 or 3 years, with a tenfold increase. Dramatic usage of data for people to consume video on their mobile devices. So it's really an important play. We think people want to learn there. It's a great forum to learn about candidates, see the candidates. So we're advocating for different technologies that combine a printed piece with a video message. And there's lots of ways in. There's ways to connect with live streaming. You can incorporate an actual screen in a printed piece. There's many different ways. Now I can't get it. I'm so sorry I can't get the slides to advance here. I will tell you, my technology, there we go. Technology has not been my friend today. Thank you so much. So this is an example of a campaign that we sent out earlier. You can see the mail piece on the left. It says, today's mail has a stronger signal. And on the flip side of the piece, there's a personalized QR code. It takes the viewer to this window, this frame, with a personalized video message. You can actually personalize the content. So mine would say, hey, Vicki, welcome to the site. You see here it says it's set up for David. Anybody else that got their own personalized link, you can speak to them by name. You can have the artist record by name. You can speak to that person individually and allow them to choose the content that's relevant to them. You start it with the power of the physical printed piece and connect them to this video experience online to give them the content they want about the message that you want to get out. Okay, augmented reality is another technology that we think is fabulous. And if any of you, you don't have to confess it now, if any of you played Pokemon in last year, and I see a few smiles, so I know some of you were out there chasing some of those guys, augmented reality has a whole new presence in the US and in the world. It's one of the technologies that we think is great. It pairs with the physical environment, in this case, a physical printed piece, and delivers amazing experiences that really help your recipient engage differently with that content. And this one I would love to show you if I can make that video work. We're going to give it one more shot and then I'll give up the ghost. Okay, this is, nope, we're not getting it on the screen. All right. Oops. Now I can't find. Now I can't stop the video. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I need technical support. Usually I'm more self-sufficient than this. I can't get the mouse. Yeah, maybe you should just stay here and babysit my keyboard here. I apologize. So augmented reality takes a physical piece, suspends digital content over the top of it. They're a lot of fun. It's really engaging. People love the interactions, and they'll save those pieces to show others. So if you're talking about reach, you can get this piece in front of your target. That target recipient is going to share it over and over and over because they find the content entertaining and amusing, and we get a lot more bang for our buck. You get a lot more views, a lot more sharing with these kinds of experiences. So it's not, it's not just me. There we go. Thank you so much. Okay, so in the meantime, if you go to our irresistiblemail.com site, yes, if you go to the Irresistible site, you can find all the companion videos and the related content and review any of these innovations. We also have other product information. ShareMail in the national political season. ShareMail is one of our new products that allows you to send a mail piece that includes postcards that you can share with others. That we had more than 30 million pieces of ShareMail that went out during the national political season, and many of you here in the room may have participated in that. We've had some great support. So we think we have some really exciting mail products, some really exciting incorporation of leveraging that physical piece and all the benefits that it has to offer to connect with the other content that you have in the digital space to really help drive the responses and the folks that you're looking for. We know that mail's always been a great supporter of driving campaign requests and funding, looking for funding requests. So this is another way to take those results and to take the experience to another level to help bring those folks along and bring them onto your campaign. So apologize for the technical difficulties. Please feel free to join our site. Give me a call. We're happy to follow up separately.
Thank you. Do we have questions? We're going to take just a moment to do a quick set change. We have one more panel before lunch. If you do need a bio break, there's a single room behind the reg desk, and there are restrooms also downstairs. So I need our panel to come forward.